As you already know, we're currently renovating an older house from the 80s by ourselves, and of course, every now and then you run into one or two, well, not so pleasant surprises. Basically, the building structure of this house is really excellent. There's absolutely nothing to complain about. What doesn't quite fit into the overall picture, however, is the screed in the former kitchen. It's torn and looks really bad in some places. Where do the cracks come from? No idea. In the other rooms where the same screed is laid, the screed is still in top condition with no cracks whatsoever. But here the kitchen, yes, you can see for yourself, it's really bad. The only thing I can imagine is there used to be tiles laid here, which I tore out, and those tiles were really rock hard, so it was a huge hassle to get them out, and maybe that's what caused the stress cracks because the floor couldn't move. If you have another theory, feel free to write it in the comments. But actually the reason doesn't really matter at all. The cracks are there and need to go, and in today's video I'll show you how I repair the screed and make it look nice again. Let's get started. First of all, we're going to clean out the cracks so we can get some material in there. We're going to glue everything together later with epoxy resin adhesive. Now some of you are probably wondering why I didn't just completely replace the screed. I actually considered that at first, but since I'm going to lay vinyl flooring in the kitchen instead of tiles, the subfloor isn't as important anymore, so I decided to renovate the screed instead. This is what the cracks look like now. I think that's pretty good. It should be enough. So that the broken slabs will later be connected and held together again, I got myself these metal screed clamps. You can find them online or at a building materials wholesaler. If you take a closer look at the clamps, you'll see that they're slightly wavy, which helps them form a solid bond in the concrete later on. The screed clamps are now installed here across the direction of the crack in the floor, and for that we of course need to mill the appropriate grooves. The best tool for this is an angle grinder. That makes it the fastest and easiest way to do it. Luckily, this is a job I only have to do once during my renovation, because otherwise I usually have to do everything twice. I have 2 apartments, they're identical in construction, so of course the same work needs to be done in both apartments. You think you're done with one job, you think hooray, and then you remember that you still have to do the whole thing all over again. But on the bright side, you can practice the first time and then you're much faster the second time, and you also know where the tricky parts are. Along the crack, I've now milled a groove about every 30 centimeters, and now we can continue with the gluing. For that, I'll be using epoxy resin. In theory, you could use the cheapest of the cheap materials here, because visually it doesn't matter at all, it just needs to stick. Honestly, it's like pearls before swine, but I still have some left over from previous projects and it's been sitting in the workshop for a while. That's why I'm going to use it here today. So let's mix up the epoxy resin. As you probably already know, epoxy resin consists of 2 components, a resin and a hardener. These are mixed together in a specific predetermined ratio, and then the resin is ready to use. Right now, the mixed resin is of course still extremely runny, almost like water. It would just run into the gap and disappear, so I'm going to add a thickening agent. For this, I use limestone powder. You can use that, it works well. And now I'll just stir it in here. You don't really need much, just enough to make the resin a bit more viscous. A little bit more. There, now the consistency looks much better. It's not so runny anymore. I've now poured the resin into an old cleaning product bottle. It has a nozzle at the top, which makes it much easier to control the amount. Now we can start pouring the resin into the cracks. When filling the cracks, you have to be careful not to pour in too much resin. What I did here was work in 2 steps. That proved to be effective. In the first pass, I filled the crack with resin up to the top edge. Then I waited a short while, and the resin settles down a bit in the crack, is partly absorbed by the concrete, and then in the second pass you can fill the crack completely up to the top edge with resin again. Yes, after that I waited a little longer and then sprinkled the entire surface with fine quartz sand. This binds the resin. This is fine quartz sand, the kind you can get at any hardware store. And the quartz sand then hardens together with the resin to form a solid, durable layer, and you do this along the entire length of the crack. After that, I waited about another 2 hours, and then you can remove the excess quartz sand from the surface. And this is what the preliminary result looks like. Yeah, the interim result already looks pretty good. I'm satisfied. In 2 days, I'll continue with leveling and filling the floor. There's still quite a bit of work waiting here, but for now, we'll let the resin cure for 2 days, and then we'll continue. So here I am again for the second part of the floor renovation. Today, we're going to do some filling. But before we can start with that, I first have to vacuum the entire floor here. It needs to be dust-free and primed. For priming, I'm going to use a deep primer here. This is an absolutely crucial step that often gets forgotten or skipped, but that can end badly, because right now the concrete floor is still porous and absorbs a lot of water. If we now apply our thin layer of filler, the floor will draw water out of the mortar, and then it can happen that the mortar literally burns on the surface. And then later you wonder why you have a dust desert instead of a proper floor. That's why you need to prime properly, because that drastically reduces the absorbency of the floor, and then you can work properly. So the primer has now cured enough. Now we can continue with the filling. For that, we first need to mix the mortar. I'm using an inexpensive self-leveling compound from a kit. It's suitable for layer thicknesses from 3 to 15 millimeters, which is perfect for my project because I just want to apply a very thin layer over the floor so that it's a flat, even surface again. The layer I'm going to apply here will actually be less than 3 millimeters thick. If possible, I just want to level the floor down to 0. I checked in advance to see if that would work, since the specified range is 3 to 15 millimeters. I was told that this is the standard range usually used, but you can go slightly above it or even level it down to 0. It's not a problem. And that's why I'll apply the layer as thinly as possible. Then the application finally started, and the leveling compound set on the floor really quite quickly. I hadn't expected that, and you really have to move fast if you want to get smooth and clean transitions between the individual strips. The takeaway from this job is that, ideally, you should work with 2 people here. One person spreads the compound on the floor while the other is already mixing the next batch, so there's no significant delay between the individual strips. What I'll definitely do differently next time, and what I can also recommend to you, is not to apply the compound with such a small trowel, especially on large surfaces. Next time, I'd get a large squeegee with a long handle for the job so you can work while standing. That way you have a much greater reach, and it's definitely more comfortable than working bent over. And what I'll also get are those spiked shoe attachments so you can walk on the area you've already worked on. I thought about it beforehand and figured I'd save myself those few euros since I only have the one room. But yeah, it would have been a lot more comfortable because, as you can see, crawling around on the floor and spreading the material between the individual strips does work. Well, luckily I have fairly long arms, but if you have short arms you really run into problems. You end up crawling around on the floor like a frog. One thing's for sure, your knees will definitely thank you for it. I had some serious sore muscles in my thighs the next day. But hey, who cares about sore muscles? They're gone again in 2 days. The result is what matters, and I have to say, I'm really satisfied with how the surface turned out. If you look at the floor before and after, it's like night and day. Now you can build on it again, work cleanly, and soon we'll be able to start with the floor coverings. That's it for today. I hope this video helped you out a bit again, and we'll see each other soon for new projects. Until then, take care. Bye.